Everyone thinks Joyce Byers is crazy. Season 1. The entire town called her hysterical. They said she couldn't accept that Will was dead. They said she was seeing things that weren't there. But here's what nobody talks about. Joyce wasn't crazy. She was right. About everything. The lights, the phone calls, Will being alive. And psychologically, that's not just good instinct. That's a mother's bond so strong it literally bent reality. Let me explain. From the very first episode, Joyce knew something was wrong. Will disappeared, and everyone told her he was dead. The police, her ex-husband. Even her own son Jonathan started losing hope. But Joyce refused to believe it. She hung Christmas lights all over her house. She painted letters on the wall. She talked to Will through flickering bulbs. And everyone looked at her like she'd lost her mind. But here's the psychology. Joyce wasn't delusional. She was hyper-bonded. In attachment psychology, there's something called secure attachment. It's when a parent and child are so connected that they can sense each other's emotional states even when they're apart. And Joyce? She had that with Will times 1,000. She felt that he was alive. Not because of evidence, not because of logic, but because her maternal instinct was screaming at her that something was wrong, and she trusted it over everyone else's reality. That's not insanity. That's the most powerful form of love. But let's talk about the cost, because hyperbonding doesn't come free. Joyce spent season 1 neglecting herself completely. She stopped eating, stopped sleeping. She lost her job at the general store because she was too obsessed with finding Will. She pushed away Bob, who genuinely cared about her. She even scared Jonathan because he didn't know if she was breaking down or breaking through. And psychologically, this is called tunnel vision. When you're hyper-focused on one goal, your brain shuts down everything else. Joyce couldn't see her own needs. She couldn't see Jonathan's pain. She couldn't see that she was falling apart. Because saving Will was the only thing that mattered. And here's the brutal truth. That kind of love is both her greatest strength and her biggest flaw. Let's jump to season 2. Will is back, but he's not okay. He's possessed by the mind flayer. And once again, everyone tells Joyce she's overreacting. The doctors say it's PTSD. Hopper says give him time. Even Will himself doesn't fully understand what's happening. But Joyce knows. She sees the signs, the episodes, the drawings, the way he goes cold. And she doesn't wait for proof. She takes action. She drives him to Hopper's cabin. She burns the mind flayer out of him with heat. She almost kills her own son to save him. And it works. Because Joyce doesn't parent with her head. She parents with her gut. And her gut is never wrong. But here's the question. What happens when her instinct isn't enough? Season 3. Hopper dies. Or so she thinks. And for the first time, Joyce's intuition fails her. She didn't sense that he was alive. She couldn't feel him the way she felt Will. And that broke her. Because Joyce's entire identity is built on being the mother who knows. The one who sees what others miss. But with Hopper, she was just as blind as everyone else. And psychologically, that's called identity collapse. Joyce defined herself by her ability to protect the people she loves. But when she couldn't save Hopper, she didn't know who she was anymore. So she ran. She moved her family to California. She buried herself in work. She tried to be normal. But normal doesn't work for Joyce. Because she's not built for normal. She's built for crisis. And season 4 proved it. The moment she got that package from Russia, she knew. Hopper was alive. No evidence. No proof, just a doll and a gut feeling, and she dropped everything. She flew to Alaska. She bribed a smuggler. She broke into a Russian prison. Because that's what Joyce does. She doesn't wait for permission. She doesn't need logic. She feels the truth and she acts on it, and that's why she's the most underrated character in Stranger Things. Everyone talks about Eleven's powers, but Joyce has something stronger. She has love that refuses to accept loss. And psychologically, that's called radical hope. It's the belief that even when the world tells you something is impossible, you keep fighting anyway. Not because you're naive, but because giving up is worse than being wrong. Now let's talk about Season 5, because Joyce is about to face her biggest test yet. Will is connected to Vecna. The upside down is spreading, and for the first time, Joyce might have to accept that she can't save him. Not because she doesn't love him enough, but because some battles can't be won by a mother's instinct. And that's the tragedy of Joyce Byers. She spent 5 seasons bending reality through sheer force of will. But what happens when reality pushes back? What happens when love isn't enough? Here's my prediction. Joyce won't save Will by fighting. She'll save him by letting go. Because the hardest thing a parent can do isn't protecting their child. It's trusting them to make their own choices, even when those choices might destroy them. And if Joyce can do that, if she can step back and let Will decide his own fate, that's not weakness, that's the ultimate act of love. Because real love isn't about controlling someone's life, it's about honoring their agency, even when it breaks your heart. So here's why Joyce Byers matters. She's not a superhero. She doesn't have powers. She's just a mom who refused to let the world tell her what was real. And in a show about monsters and magic, that's the most powerful thing of all. Because at the end of the day, Stranger Things isn't about defeating Vecna. It's about people who love each other so fiercely that they rewrite the rules. And Joyce? She's been doing that since episode 1.